When asked about the Taliban's new law banning women from speaking in public, former President Bill Clinton responded by saying, "I couldn't even imagine a world where my wife Hillary didn't have the ability to speak her mind at any time. However, I also believe there are times where Westerners need to sit down and listen to what laws minorities around the world believe are a good idea, as uncomfortable as that may be."
He continued, "We should always strive to decolonize our minds by resisting the urge to judge the wisdom of other cultures, even if I personally would loathe the scenario where women in my life, and Hillary, would not have the opportunity to say anything they want to say at any time with no restrictions outside the home."
At this point, the reporter asked President Clinton if he's ever had verbal relations with the supreme leader of the Taliban, to which Bill paused for a second before muttering, "Have I had verbal relations with the supreme leader? Maybe a few dozen times, but that's only because I wanted to understand every step of how he was able to impose that law to make sure nothing like that could ever happen in America that might prevent Hillary from speaking."
But it was when the reporter pointed out documents stating that Bill Clinton had made more than 30 trips to Afghanistan in recent months, he interrupted the reporter angrily, yelling, "I support Muslims, okay? And just because you and the global community have a narrow Western outlook doesn't mean that I have to as well. Now, if you'd excuse me, Hillary is speaking and I have been scheduled to stand beside her."
The boys. It's the BOYSCAST. The lads. It's the BOYSCAST. The dudes. Prepare yourself for BOYSCAST. The bros. It's the BOYSCAST. The homies. It's the BOYSCAST. The dudes. Experience the BOYSCAST.
The BOYSCAST is the podcast where we're not eating our helping a slop. You got the wrong fellas, man. No gatherer mentality, no slop eating. You got the wrong guys.
Oh, thank you. Just hunting and protein.
Just hunting protein. And if there's any slop attached to that protein, no thank you.
No, slop free.
We got a few dates here. I'm going to be going on tour. Big tour coming up. So we got Fort Wayne, Louisville, Saratoga Springs. Philly is going to be added, but it's not there quite yet, but October 25th. Nashville, Chicago, Edmonton, Minneapolis, Phoenix, Portland, Tacoma. That's going into February. Then there's some more after that. But Daniel Polishuk?
Yes, I'm going to be Baltimore on October 10th, Tampa, October 20th, Skankfest as well.
Yes, the boys are going to be out there on the road.
Yeah.
We actually have, this is not a friend of the podcast. This is someone on the internet that a friend of the podcast has sent us.
Okay.
Not to be confused.
Yes, I'm already confused.
we haven't had one in a while. So my Tulpa hates my girlfriend. So we got a fellow bro out here who's in problems right now. It's just like the title says. My Tulpa, Genepa. So it's
Genepa, the Tulpa.
So a dude that's got a Tulpa named Genepa.
Real bro move by him.
Real bro move, just having a Tulpa. Genepa doesn't like my girlfriend of 2 years. So they've been together for 2 years. Genepa's got a bit of a beef with the new girl.
A little jealous.
A little jealousy. It's gotten to the point where Genepa will lash out and call her names. My girlfriend doesn't believe in tulpas, so they got a bit of an issue. Whenever she says that, it makes the problem worse because Genepa feels invalidated.
Right. And it's just like, it's not like your imaginary friend saying something. It's like the guy is just like, "You're a fat bitch."
You're a fat bitch.
And you go, "What?" You go, no, that was Genepa.
You don't fucking believe in me? I'm sorry. Genepa's up to her old tricks anymore. This fucking meal is disgusting. Very good. No, your cooking skills have improved.
I mean, I like it. I love it. I mean, this is my favorite.
I would love to go to your mother's house. I fucking hate going to your mother's house.
I hate that chick so much.
Stop doing that. I don't believe you have a tulpa. You don't believe
Yeah, you don't believe I exist, huh?
I'd rather fucking die than spend another day with you. You don't understand.
He goes, no, that was me. Sometimes he has to, like, sometimes he's going to be like, no, actually, that was me.
Your fucking outfit disgusts me. I'm fucking grossed out even looking at you. How do you live with yourself with that fat fucking face here? Oh, Genepa's up to her old tricks again.
I mean, chicks love mental health stuff, right? They eat the slop up so much on that where you kind of like be like, what? So I can't have a tulpa?
I can't. Well, so I don't have a tulpa.
Yeah. So you have anxiety and all these mental health problems. I'm not allowed to have one mental health thing.
You're invalidating Genepa.
Yeah, you are invalidating. You're invalidating me. You're invalidating Genepa.
Excuse me. I'd like you to sit down. Me and Genepa have something we'd like to say to you. So me and Genepa have been chatting.
Genepa.
Pretty funny gossiping with Genepa in the corner. I know. You don't have to tell me.
Nothing worse than your guy having an imaginary friend. Is it a girlfriend?
Listen. I know, Janepa. Believe me, I have to deal with a lot more than you do. Hey, so hi, how's it going over there?
I mean, I can imagine a chick like in their just infinite craziness be like, "So you have an imaginary female friend?"
Yeah.
So you don't have an imaginary guy friend? That's kind of weird.
That's kind of fucking
That's kind of
something
weird.
else.
So what do you guys talk about? What do you guys do? You go, it's kind of private.
It's none of your business,
Not
man.
really.
And
It's none of my
Janepa,
business. So you have a female friend, best friend.
does Janepa like you? Does Janepa like me? Oh, yeah, she's like a huge fan. I fucking hate you. That's Janepa.
Do you know that name? What's that? Ty? So you're into Ty girls. I'm not Ty.
Yeah.
So that's so you're not really.
So it's quite the debacle that person's got. Sending the best out to you.
Let's get
Now,
some meds.
this is probably, you're going to be seeing a lot more of this going into 2025. I think that, well, potentially, but I think either way, you're going to be seeing a lot more of this. But this article is probably my favorite headline in a while. Sometimes you just have to ignore the economists.
More slop, please. Just ignore the economy.
This is a really good bucket of slop. This is
Yummy.
But this is on the transition where it starts with like, not every scientist know what they're talking about to
Sure.
follow the
This
scientists.
is
We got our new
inflation
guys.
can be a good thing.
This is their inflation could be a good thing. And I honestly think this is giving you sort of like a bit of a vibe of what they're gearing up to
Yeah.
get into you. This is they're testing out this bucket of slop. Everything you know is wrong.
Blind taste test.
This is a blind taste test of the slop they're about to feed you.
Yeah.
They're sort of warming up the trough. They're just putting a little.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
when Coca-Cola originally took the Coke out. They're like, let's just test it out, see if it's any better without
This
the
is
Coke.
like they're focus grouping the slop right now.
Focus grouping a new brand of slop, which is the Economist, and they've already got a couple different pieces of it in here because they go, Kamala Harris's proposed price gouging plan might irritate academics, but it makes sense to everybody else. Now,
Sure.
first of all, it's not the academics.
Yes.
Like,
It's anybody historians?
right, but it's funny. The academics
I
is
guess
probably
that's an academic.
right, but the academics is probably the most people that would be like fucking economists. Like,
Sure.
the people that that started the slop of like the economy. Anything you know about the economy doesn't make sense. I know that you've seen it with your own two eyes, but that's incorrect.
Yes.
That's because of some other reason. To me, that is like pure academia kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to say like. They're saying like the economists or the academics. It was
Yeah.
like, that is the smallest percentage of academics.
For sure.
The majority of academics are like communists.
I mean, yes, and also you're like, yeah, you like I said it last week. You're like, yeah, tell people you're like, hey, your eggs go down in price and your milk costs less, and don't worry about what repercussions might come. And probably most people are like, yeah, sounds great.
Sure.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an economist. I don't really care about that stuff. I care about my boat.
Well, the economists are saying things are costing more. The economists are incorrect. You go, the economists actually, you're like, the economists said that you don't have a job, and you're like, stop, just ignore them, man.
Yeah.
They'll go away eventually.
Did you
You're
see
like,
that?
okay, but I don't have a job.
You know that guy Robert Reich, that dude Robert Reich or whatever.
Yeah, I do
He's like,
know
I think
who
he
that
was
is.
part of the Bush administration or something. He was,
I don't know who that guy is, but he's out there. He's out and about.
And he posted some big Twitter thing where he goes like, look at the gross profits of all these companies, like, Kroger's gross profits, Walmart's gross profit. But he was like specifically like, see, like they're price gouging, and you're like, those are gross profits though.
Yeah, that's not.
They're like their margins are still 1.6% or something. You're like,
Danny's listening to The Economist again.
he's getting, but you're like, this guy's supposed to like, I don't know if he is an economist. Yeah, he was a former United States Secretary of Labor. So you're like, this guy should understand.
So you know the difference between a profit and a gross.
Like, you know the difference between net and gross, okay? You're not like some fucking fresh out of college communist who's like writing blogs for HuffPost. You're like, this guy worked in the United States Secretary of Labor, and he goes like, look at these price gouging. You go, those aren't profits though.
It is very interesting that this is the new angle that they're going with. And the funny part is one of her big arguments, or whoever wrote this article's big arguments, which is The Atlantic, they go, forbidding or unwarranted price hikes for necessary goods during emergencies. And one of their whole things is being like, we always kind of had this during emergencies. And you're like, what's the emergency?
Yeah, what's the emergency?
What exactly is the
I
emergency?
mean, I guess if you're saying food unaffordability is the emergency, sure, but like, again, that's not.
Yeah, but that's not.
This isn't like some massive shock to the system.
The emergency, they're like, well, What's the emergency? You go, president's old. The president's really old right now.
Decaying before our eyes.
Well, we have to do all this stuff because of the emergency. You go, what's the emergency? Well, they're running the economy into the ground.
Yeah, and then they go, yes, like some supplier had $100,000 penalty against them because during COVID they jacked up the price of hand sanitizer.
Emergency.
And you go, okay, like maybe that's, and again, like the FTC probably does have these rules in place where you're like, yeah, you can't do these certain things.
Well, a lot of that thing is because they're saying like the emergency is going to be short enough that it won't be able to, for no company's going to make any changes anyway. So why don't we just not let them do it? Like,
yeah,
for
exactly.
Example,
like they're not going to open like a new.
They're not going to have the time for that. But you're just like, when your emergency is like fucking guys old, eh?
Yeah. So what about surge pricing on Ubers and stuff? What happens? Like literally, it happens in New York City all the time. It's just like the skies open up, it starts raining out of nowhere. You're like, yeah, an Uber that was $20 now $100.
And they're basically
should the FTC
saying,
become involved?
Well, they're saying that, essentially what they're saying is like, well, when that happens, they go, well, only the rich people get stuff. So they're saying,
and the rich
it should be first come, first serve.
Yeah, and the rich people do take an Uber and poor people get wet.
I was like, then another place would just start and be like, okay, we'll be an Uber that's more money and it's always coming.
Yeah.
Because Uber is just like, well, they don't have any.
yeah, okay. You're not starting a new Uber because it rained one day.
That's so funny. It's probably that is the one criticism that I always think is funny, because there's a lot of anytime you're talking about stuff, there'll be people being like, you guys don't understand this or don't understand that, right?
Sure.
Which is generally, I feel like I have a pretty good record of cultural predictions where I go, people are starting to move in this direction. People are starting to think this. You kind of say that. But the one thing I will not tolerate is they go, Canadians talking about economics, yeesh, stick to maple syrup and comedy. First of all, me and Danny have both economics degrees.
We both have degrees in economics.
Some might have described me as a virtuoso in the thing.
An economics virtuoso, absolutely.
100% without studying.
Yeah.
Micro. The second thing is, everyone follows the American stuff because they get shoved in your face. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing being like, you might say, okay, people don't really understand exactly what's going on in Saudi Arabia. It's like everyone everywhere knows the America stuff.
More people know like the Speaker of the House in the United States than they know the fucking
in their
president,
own country.
Than they know like the president of Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
The world. Like.
But speaking of which, some people are saying we don't have economics. That's how we originally.
We're probably the most knowledgeable on economics of any comedy podcast, maybe in the world.
But that's why it's like saying it's like very possible. That was like original thing. Our last podcast was looking at. Our original theory was that it was that feminism was devaluing the pussy in the marketplace. I actually had another one.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I had a joke that was economic based recently.
Sure.
Okay, so I was saying how New York's the only place in the world that we're proud of the fact that we get ripped off.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a few others, but it's kind of like, so you go to someone's house, they're like, oh, this is my place. It's $7,000 a month. And it's like the biggest or $2,000 a month is the biggest mansion you've ever seen. And we're just like, you fucking pussy. I live it. Your landlord's just shaking you upside down. And you're just like, those pussies.
Like, oh yeah, I can't open my dishwasher and my stove at the same time. And I pay 4 times as much as that.
You'd be crying if you were me, right? I live in my landlord's shoe currently, and it's a rent stabilized shoe, so I can never move. This is actually a steal of a deal.
Yeah.
If the pussies in Buffalo would probably be crying if they were me, right? But it was saying that basically like supply and demand, obviously the Adam Smith thing is the prices are set by the invisible hand. Well, in America, or in New York, the invisible hand is giving you a rectal exam at all times.
Yeah, just sticking your fucking...
in America, in New York, the
invisible fist in New York. New York's the invisible fist.
In New York, it's the invisible fist, and they're right up there, just grabbing on your intestines, being like, "Oh, you want a washer and dryer? Let's give you another $3,000, pal."
Oh, sorry, pal. You want to live like a normal human being?
We're actually doing construction on your bed today. That's good. And also, we're charging you for it. So
we're removing your walls. Just for the start of winter.
We're not sure why. We just decided that.
Sure why, but it's just someone, someone upstairs kind of made the call.
In New York, the invisible hand is just like teabagging you at all times, just walking around and just grabbing you by the pussy is what it's doing.
Oh.
Also, I had one more economic theory.
Yeah.
It was making me laugh that, how feminism kind of convinced a lot of people to like a lot of women, it convinced them to essentially campaign for like millionaire actresses to get like 10 million instead of 8 million.
Sure.
That's their idea of trickle-down feminism.
Yeah, exactly.
Because basically you take, okay, you
Think about all the Etsy shops that'll be profiting when that celebrity.
Right. They're saying, but it doesn't even work because you basically campaign for a woman who's making 10 million to make 12 million, right? And then what happens is they're like, if they're pressured into it enough, they give her the 12 million, fire 85 other women who are making 50 grand on the thing.
Yeah.
We fire 80 people.
Got to make it up somewhere.
And the trickle down is that you trickle a bunch of other key grips off the set.
Yeah, but the key grips are
You trickle one of those caterers off the set with your budget down $2 million now.
Yep. No food for extras.
So that's trickle down.
Yeah.
Having one more theory if we're getting into theories.
Sure. I mean, this is
we happen to be, even though I brought them up.
Quasi economics podcast at this point.
The one more theory I said was, this is actually not economic as related, probably not at all, but I was kind of thinking that there's always like a correlation between when you're being, I've kind of made the argument that one of probably my least favorite characteristics of people is when they'll be like, this person's amazing, and it'll be like the most normal person.
Yeah.
Which I've described backpackers very much like that. They go, this guy's he's a legend. Just a guy, right?
Scene.
Just a guy, nothing wrong with him, nothing great about him.
Sure.
Just
a guy
number 5 in the crew, nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
But should be like, he's such a fucking legendary guy, right? Another one of those for me is whenever anyone is very, very described as like they're the nicest person, it's always inversely correlated to how nice they are to the people around them. And I'll give you examples. For example, you go, this is the type of person that would let anyone stay at their house, and you go, that's actually the biggest dick to their wife or anyone else they live with, right?
Yeah,
sure. Or whatever, a girl.
Not
a girl,
the
she's like,
nicest.
dude, she's so nice. She'll let anyone stay. She's so hospitable. She'll let anyone stay over if you ever need a place to stay. It's like, well, you're actually being a dick to like the boyfriend who's like, I don't stop making everyone at our house all the time sleeping here, right?
Yes. Yeah. If you're the nicest person too, like if that's your top characteristic, then there's a huge drop off to like the next thing. Like nobody wants to be like,
Sure.
That's my top characteristic because I'm the nicest. Am I good at anything? You go, no, you're good at being nice.
Yeah,
It doesn't really require any skill.
No, it doesn't. But you might even say they're the nicest, like this person gives away all their money. And you go, that might have been the biggest dick move to your kids.
Yeah, for sure.
It was like, you're like, we had a comfortable life and you're like, you gave all my money away to the needy. And you're just like, now your kids don't have any money. Like there's always sort of like it's coming from somewhere, right?
I mean, that's the ultimate comedy thing where someone's like, oh, this guy's a killer. And they go, oh, this guy's a good dude. And you go, yeah, that's not a compliment.
It's a very inverse correlation between, you might even say, it would be described as a dick if you were at a bar, for example, right? And your buddy's kind of like out of control, right? And you might be described as nice if you go over to the other guys and you're like, I'm sorry about him. Like, I'll take him home. And your buddy might describe, like, that actually might be a dick move to sort of like take everyone else's side over your friend.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like kind of what can often be described as nice really describes like where your loyalties sit.
Sure.
Like, do your loyalties sit with people that you know pretty well, or do your loyalties sit with strangers?
Yeah, I mean, niceness wants to be, you want that to be your 5th characteristic when people describe you.
Nice is, you
don't want to be just nice.
It also is a second point. That is not what you want as your primary characteristic.
Yeah, definitely not. Primary characteristic is nice.
No, when I was growing up, they did, it was like an evaluation when we were in probably grade 6 or something, right? And they gave you characteristics like that, where it was like nice, something, and everyone described everyone. And one of our buddies, his number one description, there was like words you could pick from. He was described by everyone as consistent. And we it was like forever we bring it up. He's the most consistent guy.
Mr. Consistent.
It's just like not positive or negative.
Yeah. What does that mean? Consistent with what?
That's a compliment you get when you have no idea.
Yeah, you got nothing. You're not even nice.
Is he good at sex? Consistent.
He's consistent.
It's the same every time, good or bad. It's just, I tell you what.
How does he do in school? Consistent. Consistently F's or consistently A's?
Consistent is
consistent. I mean, that's Mr. Old Reliable over there. No deviations. You're getting what you're getting every single time.
Yes, I remember us always bringing up consistent. Like we'd always describe him as consistent after he got his evaluation. Now, I'll tell you what, this girl's got a pretty hot tip, and some people
Ooh,
out there
I like
might
a
be
hot
looking
tip.
for tips in the dating market. How would you have sex with a celebrity? Doesn't seem the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, guys, take note here. Got all the guys watching, which is pretty much all of you. Take note because this applies to you.
It applies to you specifically.
Yeah.
This OnlyFans star reveals a 2-word trick for getting success when sliding into celebrities' DMs. So we're all listening.
Yeah, we're all listening. We're all trying to bang celebrities.
2 words?
2 words.
And I'm banging a celebrity.
Yeah.
So
you're nice.
flying into someone's DMs is never easy, and when you finally get the courage to do so, it takes a lot to figure out what to be able to say. Sliding into celebrities' DMs, though, whole different ball game. Harder, the bigger star.
Sure.
More
Sometimes they
difficult.
don't even let you DM them.
Sometimes you can't even DM them. Well, she's got a life hack. It's a trick that experts hate, some might say.
Ooh.
She slides into the celebrities' DMs with 2 words. I usually just slide in and then I say, would bang.
And she's not gross.
That's it.
Yeah. So this is a 2-pronged approach. Don't be gross first.
Hey, if you're a guy listening, you just offer to eat her out.
Yeah, just go DM whatever your favorite celebrity,
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber or Justin Bieber's wife, even.
Even Justin Bieber's wife.
Yeah, just go would bang and see how that works.
So this
out.
is a hot tip, ladies
Hot
and gentlemen.
tip, yeah.
If you're a hot girl out there, if you don't have the gift of gab,
if you lack the gab and you just kind of want to, not beat around the bush.
would bang
Yeah.
is the line.
Yeah.
People used to, what the problem is? There's people out there using all sorts of lines. Did you fall from heaven? All this sort of stuff. When all you had to do was walk up to a celebrity, in your case, walk up to whoever you got a thing for, Jennifer Aniston.
Sure,
It's probably
Jennifer Aniston. Yeah.
someone for you. You like them older.
Yep.
You walk up, would bang.
Would bang. Yes, do not try this in public. This doesn't work in person. It works with you have the DM kind of in the DM situation. But I mean, you know what? If you're like, if you're some pro athlete, you're probably getting a lot of girls who are messaging you, trying to chat you up. So that kind of is separated.
So you're making the
wheat from the chaff.
You're making the point that it works a little better for a hot girl to suggest that her pickup lines "I'll blow you."
Sure. Yes. And the craziest thing is, it must hurt is she's probably the problem is that she's doing would bang, but there's a lot of other chicks who are also doing this to the same guy. So she's probably getting rejected with wood bang.
Getting rejected with wood bang can't be good for the psyche for a woman.
Half.
I got a one trick experts hate for men. When you're trying to pick up a girl, one hot tip: offer them $1 million.
Yes.
Now, I know it sounds crazy. This is one life hack that the experts do not want you to know.
Yeah.
It's
Ask them
so
if they want to
crazy.
go on a weekend trip to Paris.
Bring them on a weekend trip
Private.
to Paris, wine and dine them, buy them a car,
Yep.
and then just empty out your bank account, give it to them. I know it sounds crazy, but lo and behold, some girls are going to go for that.
Some girls will. Some girls will definitely be receptive. It's the wood bang for men.
This is maybe the craziest take of all time for a girl to be like, I got a fucking hot trick.
Hot trick. Doesn't work if you're under an 8.
Hot trick. Honestly, it might.
Not for the celebrities,
Hey,
though.
I think I'll say that. I might go as far as to say this. If you offer guys sex,
Sure.
out of the gate, no strings attached, some of them might even take it.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, I mean, if it'll work. It'll work more often than it won't work.
In a
That's
world
for
where
sure.
many carefully plan out their date with timid messages, Ray insists it's best to be bold, and you may just see yourself getting somewhere. Women have 9. Okay, anyways. So,
Yeah, works for women.
This
Guys
is-
get blocked.
UN, I'll tell you who's not having this problem of the wood bangs. The UN Taliban.
Shout out to the Taliban back in
And the
news.
UN has denounced them. It's fun. The Taliban ban on women. Obviously, we had the podcast.
Pretty on brand.
We denounced them, but you're right. It is pretty on brand.
Yeah, that's just-
I don't know if you see the new outfits they made them wear too.
No.
Full deal.
Oh, the women?
Body. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the burqa. Or it's like a.
It's
like
the
a,
extra burqa, like the ninja outfit.
Oh, it's like a
with-
double burqa.
Yeah, they have basically a double burqa, and
it's
the eye slots
mesh
blocked
eyes.
off too. Yeah.
Oh, it's the mesh eyes.
And that's what they have to wear in public. So the Taliban's been going like real hard,
I wonder
real
how
quick.
hot they get. It must be really hot under there. Even though they're probably like breathable,
Sure
but it's
hot.
still black in like the desert.
No, those are insane.
Middle East.
I would say meet in the middle. I know the Taliban saying no woman's allowed to speak at any time in public. We're saying yap all you want. There might be a middle.
There might be some sort of middle ground. I don't know.
Maybe like obviously you're allowed to speak, but maybe sometimes keep it down.
Yeah, just sometimes just pick your spots.
Pick your spot. Do you think the Taliban had one bad encounter with his woman that came back like one day he was just like enough, and then he came back and he was like new rule.
Hey, he
New rule.
goes, I found this interpretation in the Quran, and it actually says you're not allowed to speak ever.
Yeah, I think he must have had like something must have tipped that off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a fucking yappy wife.
No, but yes, possibly a yappy wife, but it also is possible that she was out there being like, "That's a good-looking guy," and he was like, "Well, you just ruined it for all of you." Hope you're happy.
Hope you're happy. Nobody's speaking ever again.
There's 0 women allowed to speak, but here's the problem, because sometimes you might see that and you'd be like, oh, yeah, no, Taliban's mean to girls.
Yeah.
They're kind of doing it to the guys, too, because in other Taliban news, Taliban sacks over 280 men from security forces because they can't grow beards.
Fucking pussies.
300 low-T guys that can't grow a beard.
Hey, man, you think you want to be in the Taliban and you don't realize you got to be able to grow. Do you think any dudes are cutting the pubes and gluing them to their face to stay in the Taliban?
I mean,
You go, what the hell is going on here? You go, look, real beard. This is a real beard. You go, don't pull on beard. Don't pull. It's very sensitive.
He's just got the barbershop clippings.
Yeah, just barbershop clippings, just glued. They do like the bob and then they just kind of glue.
And he has to go over the top. They're like, anyone who doesn't have a beard's kicked out. He stands up like, where are they? He's got, if there's anyone here, I'll find them.
Show me these beardless losers. I'll take them out myself.
Just got drawn on with Mark. We should start a committee to find them. I'd like to be in charge of that committee.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Taliban dudes on Rogaine. Because it doesn't work on the beard.
I mean, there's definitely got to be a few. I mean, that's extra for one. That is extra crazy if like the Arab man can't grow a beard.
Yeah,
like you got to have real low T if you're an Arab man that doesn't grow a beard.
If it's just a patchy beard, like can you just have a patchy beard or like it's got to be? They say it has to be a fist.
You're having to probably comb it over, I guess, if you can't do it.
Comb over a beard's tough. That's a tough look.
Well, there probably was like a few guys that were, when they were making these hearings, the guy's like, no women allowed to talk. He's like, hell yeah, no beards. They're in the Taliban. He goes, whoa.
What do you mean, no beards?
What do you say about the beard part?
I mean, we can't all grow beards, though. I go, sorry, bro.
You know, he might have gotten that, and it's probably his wife that was out in public being like, this guy doesn't have a beard. And he tried to shut it down, but it was too late.
You think that's how like
280 guys got fired, dude? Imagine going home to your wife and you go, I got fired from my job at the Taliban. You go, what happened?
Is that like the equivalent of like how an American woman would be like, you small dick loser? You'd be like, you fucking beardless loser. He goes, you would really know how to hit me where it hurts. I couldn't even be in the fucking Taliban. Beardless plug.
Your words are daggers. That's so funny. Yeah.
Damn. Well, I mean, that's a lot of guys too. There's a lot
300 men.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who can't grow beards in the Taliban.
Dude, they just got. Do you think they had to get escorted out of the building, Taliban HQ, because their beard's not good enough?
Stuff.
That's real wild. So lots going on at the Taliban.
Damn, get a glue-on beard or something.
You got to do some sort of thing, but I don't know. The Taliban have beard inspectors probably. Like they take it very seriously.
Yeah, they probably give everyone a yank.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, you know, there was a lot of times in olden times, they would make people fight. Let's say you got caught stealing and you said you're innocent, and before they had like a lot of places that didn't have like court systems, they would make them fight.
Yeah, like feudal adversary.
And their idea was that like God will be on the side of who's not lying.
Paul don't lie.
Yeah, and I think that maybe there's some element where they're like, well, it's not that you just don't have a beard. It's that God is like punishing you with not beard because of something
like
you've
God's
done.
telling us he doesn't want you fighting for the Taliban.
Yeah, so it's like we don't know what you did, but you did something.
You
God just doesn't take your beard away for nothing, right?
Damn, that sucks.
Like he's like, you're out there doing some funny business. We don't know what it is, but
I mean, that's like, it's funny. That's their caste system is beards and no beards. It's like some dude who just has the ZZ top. You go head of the Taliban now.
Yeah, it does seem. It's pretty wild though. You just can't be in the Taliban if you don't have a beard.
I have a beard, man.
So they're getting pretty wacky over there though.
Yeah. You think they watch playoff hockey and they go, oh, that must be nice.
I think, to be honest, I think that is probably a part of it, is that cricket playoff seasons were happening, and they're just like...
Yeah, come on, we're all growing our beards out.
They're trying to grow the playoff beards, and then this guy's... He's like a bad luck charm, walking around with his bare naked face.
Yeah, the Afghanistan team lost.
That's probably what happened. The Afghanistan cricket team was taking a beating, and they're just like, okay, who here doesn't have a beard?
All right, we're doing beards for mandatory beards. No pussies.
What is this? You cannot grow a beard?
I wonder, can you do, like, if you somehow, like, will they let you back if you figure out, because, you can do, like, micro needling or whatever, like chicks do it for their faces, but then...
Good question.
I was doing a joke about it, and then some guy in the audience...
They're close to Turkey. That's the headquarters.
Yeah, some guy in the audience... Oh, they could do the actual full, just like, the Turkish, like the...
Yeah, you go get the Turkish beard.
You come back, and just bald on the top, beard on the face, you go...
You said nothing about top.
I mean, come on, we can't all have hair on the head. Look at this beard, though.
Yes, I do think so, to answer your question. So that's the manly. So they're going... It is always funny to contrast. Sometimes we talk about China, but it kind of seems like that compared to, the West, where it was like, it's just, you literally see like those countries being like, we're going as masculine as like humanly possible to the point where you're kicked out if you can't grow a beard.
Yeah.
And then over here, it was just constant onslaught of like everything that a man does is, incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very Middle Eastern thing. Like, they couldn't do that in China. No beards.
Not a chance.
We have 5 guys left.
I wonder why if that's why like Japan, and those places are so against Muslims. They're not like, we're not having them come here and
force us to have beards. It'll be best case scenario. It's patchy.
We all know the modern media landscape is a slop factory. It's biased. It's hard to figure out what's true, what's not. That's why our new sponsor I have been using for years, which is Ground News, which helps you actually figure out what's biased, what's not, what's true, what's not. Ground News is an app and a website that gathers related articles from across the world into one place and shows the context about the publication's political leaning, reliability, and ownership, all backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations, so you can think critically about the news you consume. And they're not a partisan organization. This is actually probably what people who listen to this podcast would actually want to use, where you're just like, you see a couple things from different places, you're like, is this true? Is this bias? Is this,
Yeah, is this true? Is this the news?
Is this actual news? And you go, or when you do see it, you go, oh, this and this, and then you can look at the thing, it'll be like, yeah, but this is like an extremely left-leaning source.
Sure.
This guy has an agenda. And a lot of times it's hard to sift through that. So Ground News has been super helpful to me. I've been using it for years to kind of get to the bottom of what's actually happening. So I think that people listening to this podcast would probably find it very helpful. So when you go there, it lets you compare coverage with additional context, see through bias, think critically about the news you consume, and actually get a better picture of what's actually going on. One of my favorite things is the meter. So you can actually...
The bias meter.
The bias meter is incredible.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's one of the biggest things I use, and all the time I'll check. Because I don't know. I'd say it happens like 1 in 5 things. A lot of times you can spot it, but a lot of times you're just like, I don't really know where they're coming from on this.
And it takes a lot of work. It's like so much time.
It takes a lot of work.
You want to actually, you're like, okay, I got to read the same article 10 times from 10 different people.
That's exactly where they're like, they have them all there and they can, so it really is like a helpful tool, but also just like in normal life, it saves you time. Yeah, like you said, because you're just like, this can just like solve a pretty quick problem for me, as opposed to being like, every time I'm trying to figure something out, I got to do half-hour research, message people. You're just like, sort of lays it all out for you. And you're like, oh, okay, this is only coming from one. And you're, also the other part of it, you can kind of find out the bias of like a story that's being reported, where you're just like, this thing's only being reported by them this way. And then you go, well, a lot of times you're like, what's the other side of that? You go,
of course.
You know what I mean? You're like, what is the like steel man of the other side of it? And you go, how biased is that? So you go, okay, this is what they're saying the rebuttal is. Because a lot of times it's like a lying by omission
one side.
thing.
Yes, one side of the story.
Yeah, and I was saying that sometimes it's a lying by omission thing where you're trying to figure out, what I mean?
Yeah, and they just keep out important details.
Yeah, so it's hard to get a good picture of it. So I find it super helpful, and that's why we've decided to sponsor with them. So you can access different viewpoints, not just across the political spectrum, but around the world. See discrepancies in how certain topics are covered. Find common ground between perspectives. Share good information. One of the biggest things, I'm going to add one more that's personal, is you make sure you're not getting duped by something.
Sure.
That's a big thing, right? Like, no one wants to post something or this and that,
of course,
and then find out you were it's embarrassing, right?
It happened to me.
So it's a lot of times it's a good thing you can check where you go, am I being kind of, duped by this one? And a lot of the other fact-checking orgs are their own bias. You know what I mean?
Of course, Snopes.
So, it's hard to even use all these places. So give it a try. Just go to ground.news/boyscast. Use our landing page and give it a try. If you sign up through our link, you're going to get 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use personally to get unlimited use. And I think Ground News is doing awesome work. So it is a cool site, and I think a lot of people I know use it too. You can sign up with our QR code, or again, go to ground.news/boyscast to see through the news media narratives, and you subscribe for 40% off the unlimited access to Ground News this month. Well, this was my second favorite article of the week because there's a guy, and this was a big LinkedIn post, my CEO.
Yeah.
So this was a big LinkedIn post. He posted this on Twitter and went very viral. It's kind of...
Then he deleted it.
He deleted it, but the article's still up. I think his Substack's still up. So... It's behind the paywall too. So we've seen a few where guys have done like, I fired my first employee today. Here's what I learned. And it's just like, it comes across as tacky.
Sure.
You know, this guy wrote an article, my CEO seduced my wife. Here's what I learned, right? And so he deleted the Twitter and then he put it behind a paywall. So, which is even funnier, being like, my CEO fucked my wife and stole her. If you want the deets behind the, you know, like subscribe to my Substack.
Just Silicon Valley gossip at this point.
But he's basically the first funny part is people immediately like went into his thing, and 4 posts ago he was a proud white dude for Harris,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
So this
and
guy,
he worked at Amazon, so everyone assumed it was just Jeff Bezos.
it would be hilarious if it was Zos.
Yeah, but I don't think it was.
Zos has entered the building. Miami Zos.
Yeah, fucking all jack teed up.
Well, apparently the wife posted, because he's been going viral for all this stuff, and apparently the wife posted because he's trying to get clout off of like what an asshole and snake the CEO is, which may be true. The wife was like, just for the record, like, I kind of seduced him. And the guy was like, I still learned all these lessons.
Yeah, I still learned all these lessons, and I don't think a woman can seduce a man. So that was like well, if he's a white dude for Harris, he subscribes to the whole power structure thing where he goes, well, if someone's your boss, like, you can't seduce your boss.
It's not
right? You can't seduce upwards. You can only
true.
seduce downwards. So he's like, no, that's not possible.
It's actually not possible for you to seduce your boss. He took advantage of you.
He took advantage of you. You think you seduced him, but in fact, he seduced you.
But he wrote a list of points that he's learned, and you can learn too from this experience. So this is
Very common thing for people to have happen. So this is really...
Silicon Valley really is split into 2 things where it's like real 2 camps, eh?
Yeah.
And you're very right about that. Where the point of this, he's extrapolating all the lessons you learned. You're just like, yeah, this isn't really that common of a
this doesn't apply. Not a lot of people's wives are getting stolen by the CEO of their tech company.
The CEO of a startup I worked for seduced my wife in direct retaliation for my pushback in the office. Allegedly, he's been taking the wife's agency away a little bit, right?
Old school. Yeah, oh, very much so.
He's like, oh, because I pushed back on the CEO, so then he banged my wife, and you know,
Bit of a cope, if you will.
and the wife's like, that's not what happened. Me and this guy had a thing because I liked him.
I hate you.
Again, I don't know all the details. This guy, it's hard for me to take his side when he's airing it out in public like this. Like, take the L in private, buddy. What are you doing?
That's what I would do.
Yeah. And, you know, it's one of those things where, as a dude, anything that you put out there to like get sympathy is just like, you can argue all you want that, like, you know, people say like, oh, well, you know, men should talk about their problems more, and we need, well, the fact of the case is we don't, and no one cares.
Nobody cares.
So when you're a guy being like, you know, here's my sob story, the truth is, it's just like, you're not getting sympathy. People aren't interested.
Nobody wants to hire you more because of this.
Girls think you're icky.
Yeah, you got the ick. But nobody wants to hire you. Like, if you're trying to be like, oh, this is going to get me some LinkedIn clout, get me a job, you're like, no. No, maybe some
It might be that content at all costs.
Maybe some all-girl startup might hire you or something out of sympathy.
You know what I was kind of thinking of? It is to some degree. I mean, I've talked about the grandmother treatment before, but girls, the lowest. So even if you're getting some sympathy, the women putting guy in the friend zone is the lowest they could put them.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that
they would kill you. But that's illegal. Like,
Yeah.
they would put you down like a dog.
It's true, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason for why that's the lowest is girls see like their love of their life as, or you know, or someone that they're, you know, in a relationship with of any sort. They see that as higher than a friend, right? Of
course.
Whereas a guys probably in some ways see friend as the highest.
Yeah.
Not always, but you know what I mean?
But yeah,
it's definitely like that.
a competition.
Right. So the lowest for a guy is the grandmother treatment where it's not sexual. Like a girl could be up to you and being like, you know, I masturbated today, and you go, oh, speaking of sex, Haley's pregnant. You know, that's how you would treat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any politics thing, she could, you know, she tells you the show. She goes, Love Island's the best show in the world. You go, oh, it's very popular.
Oh,
like
yes, yeah.
that's how you.
Yeah, that
like
is, I hear that's the women your age
Oh,
do.
I
like
actually
that
know a
shit.
friend that likes that. Like that's how you would.
It's water cooler talk.
Water cooler, no controversy. That's the lowest that a guy can put as someone where it's just like you've removed any sexuality
Sure.
whatsoever from
Yeah,
this
yeah,
person.
yeah.
That's the lowest a guy
Completely,
can put
there's
someone.
no potentiality.
Lowest a girl will put you as in friend because
Yeah.
it's like one below her dog.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, one below. The
Lower,
dog.
yeah,
lower
that's
than
what I'm
dog.
saying, yeah.
You're below. You're not even the hamster.
That's another thing I was sort of thinking is that it's almost harder for. Because I was kind of asking this on stage before, like years ago, but like the question of who gets catfished more, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you could probably think there might be some arguments to be made for both, right?
Old people probably get catfished the most.
Old people
If we
probably
take
get
away
catfished the
gender,
most, you're right.
old people get catfished a lot.
Yeah. I think that
Didn't we cover that one thing where like some woman thought she was like meeting up with George Clooney or something, and she like
there's a lot of
she,
those.
like sent him $100,000.
There's a lot of
George
those.
Clooney's like I'm in a jam.
Oh, fake Chris Browns are getting sent so much money, dude. Fake Chris Browns are rolling in it right now. They're
It's like
rolling
some
in the dough.
grandma is like, oh, I think Chris Brown's interested in me.
Huge.
No, it's not the real.
She's
Chris
messaging
Brown.
her ex-husband like, I bet you're jealous now that I'm dating Chris
but it
Brown.
is guys for sure.
Probably, yeah. But the reason I wanted to add to it is the reason why it's very difficult for why girls get catfished less is because a guy sees what he believes to be a good-looking girl, goes on said date with said good-looking girl.
Yeah.
Girl, yet generally before she goes on a date with a guy, it's got the 9 screens up.
Yeah.
She's doing detective work.
Right.
So I would say
And they build an emotional connection, like a stronger like connection via just like messaging. And
they got their
talking.
friends involved. I mean, it's very rare that if you were on the apps, you're going on a date with someone that you're like running it by all your friends,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think that this screening process is just way high for women. So that's probably one reason why they get catfished less.
Yeah.
On top of the fact
And
that
guys, like,
they're a
kind
little
of-
better with makeup. Guys are worse at faking it probably
Yeah,
too.
and guys will put on blinders too. Like they'll get excited if they think there's like some hot piece of ass waiting for them. And they'll
Yeah.
kinda start ignoring obvious signs. Like Lisa Ann posted something where she's
Only face photos 4,000 miles away.
Yeah.
I'm fucking in the jackpot.
like Lisa Ann posted something on Twitter the other day where she's like, if you get a DM from me, like if I'm sliding in your DMs, like that's not me.
Sure.
But she has to say that because there's imposters, and it's obviously becoming a problem where someone's like, "Oh shit, Lisa Ann messaged me out of the blue."
She just, loved my LinkedIn post.
Yeah, I love my or whatever. You're like, I'm like a plumber, and just Lisa Ann just found me online and just wanted to smash, and you're like, it doesn't happen.
Okay, well, go.
Like the only chick who ever messaged you wanting to smash happens to be Lisa Ann.
Yeah.
Nobody
that's
else.
That's a good point. You're like, you've never, you go, how many other girls have even messaged me? If you're a guy that you're like, my DMs are like filled with slews, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like 0 messages other than Lisa Ann. You're like, damn, I still got it.
Last message was like your buddy from high school being like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
how you
How are
doing?
things? Yeah,
How are
how's it
things,
been?
pal?
Yeah, I know.
It's just 3 happy birthdays from family members.
Happy Easter.
And then Lisa Ann looking to suck you off.
Damn. Fuck, man. I thought I lost my game, but
Yeah, so there's both, but I think that a part of it is that women go through an extensive screening process. Dude, they're detectives.
they are, yeah.
Yeah, every girl. I don't know. We've talked about this, but I don't know why every girl doesn't want to be a PI. They have the skills.
They do. It is weird. There is that one, I don't know if you've ever seen on TikTok, there is this one girl who is a PI, and she just films herself just on her missions, on her private investigative missions, just finding guys cheating.
Doesn't that seem like kind of like, I mean, she's running her own little cheaters, but like if I was hiring a PI, I'd be like, okay, but don't live stream.
Well, no, she doesn't show the people. It's like literally just her in her car, just kind of on the...
Does she show the area?
Maybe sometimes.
Guys got to be sweating if they see that on TikTok and they see
Well, that's what women
their
want,
house
though.
in the
That-
background.
Like, women are just like, yes, be sweating.
They don't want, well, I guess, but they sort of want you to slip up. If a guy's buddy sends him like, hey, just so you know, there's a PI outside your house. She keeps posting about it.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not outside the house. It's always in, like, parking lots and shit and stuff like that.
That'd be funny if she found out she was not doing anything. Like her dad, she lives with her parents, and her dad's like, yeah, no, she does believe that she's a PI. But
I mean,
We're trying to make her see a psychologist.
She's yet to close a case.
Or have a case.
Or have a case. Yeah, she just sits in her car, fake PI. She goes, whoa, oh my God. It's like this guy's blowing 8 dudes in front of a Walmart. Crazy.
I mean, it's not impossible.
No.
I mean, probably the first rule of being a PI is don't be filming everything.
Well, that is the one thing where
it's
it's
the
like,
least sneaky thing you can possibly do of all time.
Well, if you blow up like and become super popular, your face, then you're like, well, then that's a problem because then people are like, oh, you're the PI.
Sure.
Okay, aren't you that PI?
Well, it's like you're at a bar, and if you're at a bar, like with a mistress, and Greco shows up out of the blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just read the newspaper, his face pops up. You're just like, oh, we're done here.
Jigs up.
Well, anyways, this guy has a long list of things. Well, it's not that long, 5, but he has 5 things he's learned from this, and you can take 2. So he goes, when you have a good manager, lean in and take advantage of it. Because some people, for example, if you do have a manager that's not banging your wife, you need to remember that that's a positive.
It's a positive.
Spot the snakes. Generally, it doesn't take long to figure out who is a good person and who is only looking out for yourself. Some people might say the guy who bangs your wife falls in the other category.
Also, if you have
subtle signs.
If you have any work functions, don't bring your wife.
Don't bring your wife.
Don't bring your wife. Say that, make up an excuse that she's not feeling well and just go solo and network.
Imagine like you're at a place and you're at like a comedy club and then someone bangs your wife and then you do a post of how to spot snakes at a comedy club. You go, what's your main thing that you've well, first of all, when they bang your wife, that's
number
right
one.
There. That is stamped sealed snake.
Yeah.
So do you have any other ones? It's like that's the main
one that I'm kind of working.
So you're gonna want to watch out for when they bang your wife.
Yeah, that's a big
It's a
red
telltale
flag.
sign that this guy might be a snake.
Sure.
There are many ways to see through dishonest people. Every snake, even snakes need to get things done. So you can be valued for excellent work, even by nasty, dishonest people. So he's saying even if the guy's banging your wife, you don't want to completely take
that's
time
not really
off.
Good tips about anything.
Terrible,
I go,
brutal tips.
just like be good at your job, I guess.
like the worst article
It's like
of all
it's
time.
essentially just like do a good job regardless of who you work with.
Yeah, even if they're banging your wife.
Yeah, even if they have designs on your wife and family.
See if their actions match their words. So if, for example, they're saying they're not banging your wife and then they are banging your
Yeah.
wife, that might be a clue that
you said you're not banging my wife, but I came home and you were in bed with my wife.
Yeah, it's weird because you're saying you're not banging my wife, but then I walked in on you banging my wife and you admitted to banging my wife. So I have
So I'm starting to think when you said you couldn't get those reports done, that maybe you could get them done and you just chose not to.
the people that post this kind of stuff, the lack of shame you have to have.
I'm
For a
always
few
curious the
Substack
angle.
subscribers.
Like what was like his most desired outcome from this?
I think
Substack subscribers?
I think
Because I imagine his well's going to run pretty dry after this whole banging your wife stuff. Like, what's his next post about? You go, yeah, we came here for the banging your wife, how to not get your wife stolen.
on the contrary,
And then now you're like Excel shortcuts.
he might have many banging his wife stories. He's like, how to spot snakes at the grocery store, how to spot snakes in your bowling league,
How to not have your wife passed around your church.
how to spot someone that says they're religious but they're actually a snake at the church, how to spot a gardener that can't be trusted. How to spot family members that should not be trusted.
A lot of distrust material.
So it's possible he could be thick with these stories.
Sure. All right.
But anyways, I thought it was just probably the craziest thing in the world. But to answer your question of what do you think he's going to get from this, I think it was dual purpose, but obviously one of the purposes he thinks he's going to go viral. But I also do think...
he did go viral.
He didn't like going viral as much as he thought he would.
He did go very viral.
He didn't love going viral as much as he thought he would.
This is what this is like.
But I do think there is a bit in this where they expect that it's going to get them sympathy. Like, I think people are going to be like, I knew that there was a problem in Silicon Valley that no one's talking about. These guys are snakes. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
He might have got a few of those, but he got more of, what are you doing, buddy?
Getting dunked on, and he goes, "Oh, this is not the reaction I thought I was going to get."
Yeah, so I think that someone spends too much time around women.
Yeah.
They might not spend enough time around men. They start thinking that like oversharing is a good way to, make friends.
I mean, if he did a post
that make
about,
sense,
yeah,
maybe?
but if he did a post about like, oh, I got fucked over in this deal in Silicon Valley, probably then there would be like, that would have accomplished that, because a lot of people are like, yeah, you got to watch out making deals and Silicon, like that it's relatable, I guess. And people are like, yeah, I got fucked, but nobody can relate to this.
Yeah, it really is like my wife leaving me and the lessons I learned about Silicon Valley because of that.
People are like,
and you go, I don't know if this is like a real Silicon Valley specific article.
Well, I mean, yeah, he worked at Amazon, I guess.
You just have to take his, and the cherry on top is his wife came out and she was like, not really what shook down. Like me and him didn't have a good relationship, and
this guy's a loser, obviously.
Yeah, not great. I mean, I'll tell you what, this is definitely not going to get him the pussy that he thought it would.
No.
Because that might have been the third dimension where he's like, he thought his DMs were going to fill up being like, you wouldn't have that from me.
No, tell us what co-parenting's like with this CEO that's
Here, come cry in these. Thought he was going to get some of that.
Yeah. Sorry, bud.
So Kurt told me about this. Inside the world of extreme body modification. Now, there's a lot of cuck shit on today's episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of it being pushed, but this is actually from a year ago.
Yeah.
And then there's the leader of this cult, and they're called Nolos.
We talked about this a long time ago with the original Japanese guy on the old pod.
The original Japanese guy. Yeah. And the reason why it came out now is there's a guy that, not even trans, he's just like in a gay relationship with this guy who's like 30 years older than him. Kurt sent me the picture, and he was just like, he goes, finally got the surgery, and it's just like two dudes, and the one guy was the two in a gay relationship. The one guy's 70, the guy's 70 years old, just cut off.
Make himself a eunuch.
Yeah, they're making
themselves eunuchs.
They're making themselves eunuchs.
Totally like smooth Ken doll front.
So they have this whole thing, and apparently they said there's 10,000 to 15,000 dudes that call themselves Nolos, where they cut their dicks off.
And why is that a problem? Because they're not trans?
They're not even trans.
But I'm saying, if they were trans, we'd be celebrating them.
Right.
They're not trans, and we're like, they're going to jail.
Well, you actually have a good point. I think that I should say the information that you're referring to.
Yeah.
Is, so what happened was, in this specific case, this doesn't describe the 15,000.
No.
But in this specific case, there's this guy in Britain, and he essentially started like a cult where there's like 10 guys that are all cutting their dicks off. Then he basically started a paywall service where he's going to stream himself getting his shit cut off.
Okay.
And then basically the guy who cut his dick off on live stream for viewers, they tried that guy because he was the guy that cut the dick off. And then basically...
Why can't you do that?
Well, I think that's where you're right. But yes.
You're just unlicensed to cut dicks off?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's doing an unlicensed dick cutting off surgery.
Seems to be some dissonance going on here in the world, because it's pretty common to have.
You're
dicks
right. There's
cut
a lot
off.
of crazy stuff that, like, when you look at it through any of the trans prism, all of a sudden you're just like, isn't that just like par for the course?
Yeah. What's the problem? Like, they're just like not on the flag.
Okay, but if you
if Nello gets on the flag as they go on the new gay pride flag, you go, okay, we're it's fine now.
Well, I think probably, if I was to guess, Big Pharma's got to get their cut.
Yeah.
I think what happens is they're going off reservation, doing dick cutting off surgeries. This guy's not taking the medication. It's like, if you want to pay your $80,000 a year for all the stuff to, one of these big companies, then it's like, be my guest. We're going to support your every move. It's like,
you cannot just go cut your dick off.
You can't just be out here off book.
See, I mean, I have no problem with people chopping. Like, obviously, if you're over 18, you want to chop your horn off, go ahead.
I guess you're right.
Yeah, you should be able to do it yourself, though.
And you know what?
What's wrong with a little DIY horn cutting?
Well, I think you're kind of right, because I think the argument they made is they're kind of, if you're this guy, the lawyer, like representing the state or whatever, you're the prosecutor, you're kind of saying, you're like, this guy was in like a cult-like state. You're taking advantage of him. He was not thinking straight, and you cut his dick.
I would just be like, he's trans. Why are you sending him to jail? He's trans.
That would have been the obvious. They probably should have said that. They didn't.
The guy's like, no, but I'm not trans. He goes, shut up. Just put a fucking wig on. We'll get through this.
Well, when this happened like a year ago, it was kind of like, okay, there's this weird like trend that's popping off. Look at this freak. Lizard Man's watching these guys being like, can you believe these psychopaths?
Can you believe this?
There's guys sitting here with horns on their face being like, what kind of freak cuts the dick off?
Tattooed every inch of their body. Like, these fucking jokers.
Gauges on his eyelids, the big lip piece being like, what a fucking psycho over there.
Yeah, and they're actually getting jail time.
Yes.
How do you pee with the? I guess.
I assume it's a mess.
I guess it'd be the same way as if you because I guess if you have like a fake vagina put in.
I mean, the type of guys
that hook all that up.
Well, that's the thing, though. They didn't. That what really wasn't that. I'm thinking novelty-sized ribbon cutting scissors.
Yeah.
Just one big.
Yeah, the fucking.
I mean, imagine the sickos that
Brutus
are paying for that.
Brutus the Barber beefcake. Just. Just bite down on this stick.
Like kind of what they did.
Yeah. And that's illegal.
And then the crazy part is in the world, I guess part of it's like a law of large numbers thing, but you go, this is since this guy kind of became the big guy, now the movement is like expanding.
Sure. Okay.
And now there's 15,000 of these guys. They call themselves it's funny calling a guy Nullo.
Nullo.
This guy's a fucking Nullo. He's got no dick.
But culturally, they're totally fine with. They want this to expand for trans people. Like they can't get enough trans people cutting off their dicks.
He also cut his nipple off, which they didn't love.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know.
It's like, dude, I mean, again, I don't know if there's some law in the book somewhere, but you should be able to be like, to go to your buddy, be like, it'd be hilarious if you cut my nipple off. Like, are they mad that people are like using, because it's like a drain on the NHS, like the health service? You go, hey, well, taxpayers are paying for this stuff when you show up.
But
to
you
the
are right, though.
hospital.
You can't separate the two where you go, like, this guy is a criminal, and then you go, the one who decides that she's a girl and does it, you go, that's a hero.
It's like we're literally
you're in the same category. You're cutting dicks off.
Either you can cut your dick off or not.
If you're in the hog cutting off business, it's got to be. It's either hogs can get snipped or they can't.
Or they
right?
can't. I don't know. Seems bizarre that's kind of.
I guess you would say there's probably a lot of things like that where
maybe it's like the backroom element of it, where you go like, yeah, you can get it done.
Well, I mean, listen, you can get an abortion, but you can't get a backroom abortion.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's what the criminal element of it is, but I guess they don't get any thrill if they are like just under anesthetic and they just wake up and it's gone. They go, this doesn't really do much for me. The doctor wouldn't let me videotape it.
Yeah. You can't live stream it.
Can't live stream it.
But the doctor probably could live stream it.
Yeah, probably.
He can probably live
there's
stream
no shortage of surgery
being live. Yeah,
stuff.
he could probably live stream the surgery. It's just that I guess the government is like, we're the dick choppers.
Yeah, we do that. That's you're kind of encroaching on our domain here.
I mean, they do that with a lot of things, right? They're just like, we run this.
Yeah. I mean, the guy in Japan, I didn't realize went to jail. For people who don't know.
Japan guy went to jail?
In 2012, it was an artist who was like into this eunuch business, and then he cut off his dick and balls, and then he
cut the balls too.
The whole thing, yeah. You want it perfectly smooth,
They continue.
And then, I mean, it would look ridiculous if you just had balls, Ryan. If you just had balls hanging there with no piece. That'd
pretty funny if someone just got balls. You go. It's a funny look. Just a vagina and balls.
Yeah, just huge balls.
Well, that's the reason he goes. They've been calling it smooth. The many opt for the smoothie look. Smoothies. But I agree with your synopsis, and I think that's a good point. But if you backtrack yourself 10 years, these guys, 15,000 guys are calling them Nullo smoothies, and they start a cult where they're live streaming them cutting their dicks off. You go, this is something else.
Yeah, I mean it's wild, but I mean I guess
you are probably right though that we're about 4 months away from people supporting this, and I think that's what is happening now. There's these guys that are basically saying like, I'm sure there's cases that have been tried in these different places where they're like, I want to get the surgery, it's covered by this or that, and they're like, well, do you consider yourself trans? You're like, well, I consider myself genderless, and you go, they're kind of testing it as like, well, do you have to say that you're a girl? Like, you know what I mean?
No, I mean, there's a thing in Canada right now where I
think you just got to have the guy do it. You got to have one of their dick cutters do it.
Yeah, one of their dick cutters. Otherwise, something bad could happen. But there's the whole debate in, I think it's Ontario or British Columbia or something, where there's a person who has to go to America and the government's paying for it to go get a surgery where they're getting a vagina. It's like a male to female getting a vagina put in, but they want to keep the dong. They want
Yeah.
both, like a real freak show situation.
As opposed to
Well, a vagina and a penis. Like,
Yeah.
So, and then
I remember that.
It's happening right now in the government.
Yeah, I remember talking about that.
Debating, they're like, oh, do we let them keep the penis?
I'd love to be in that parliament
They're like,
meeting.
no, we're not paying for you to keep it. We're sending you, I think it's an
There's
Oscar.
got to be someone that's like in the parliament being like, boys, what are we doing?
We have bridges that need to be built.
All right.
We got fucking shortage of housing, immigrants, and all this stuff. Can we just...
All right, today we're going to be talking about whether we're going to be talking about the deficit. We're going to be talking about whether we're going to be installing the new doing the repairs on the highway. Dan wants a dick and a vagina. And
Should we pay for this man to keep his penis while having a vagina installed in America?
it's funny, it's one of those things where they're going through the budget. They have to scan by that one real quick. They're just like, okay, we have a military. We've spent $10 trillion on the military, $15K on Dan having a dick and ball vagina.
Was that last one?
Was that last one? Oh, the military thing?
New Hockey Night in Canada, the theme song. Just, normal stuff that we care about. Yeah, anyways, the
We're
Japanese
doing
guy...
some new commercials so you could get vaccines again. Another guy that wants 2 dicks and 3 vages. And then we...
Yeah, that's a good question. What if you go, I want 2 vaginas and keep the piece? You go, now we're getting crazy, all right? Come on. There will be some line where they go, all right.
I don't know.
We did the vagina and the piece. We're not doing 2 vaginas.
Dan's looking for 9 dicks on the... Dan's looking for 9 dicks, 4 vages.
Literally the doctor from the first season of South Park. Remember, like, they're supposed to be Marlon Brando, where he just puts like 4 asses on something.
Yeah. Well, it's like saying a doctor that gets high on his own supply, he gets carried away. He's just giving himself like so much surgery.
Yeah, just like his arm, just fucking 2 vaginas.
You see that every now and then, like a plastic surgery that his face has got the full, on a roller coaster look.
Yeah.
He's just getting high on his own supply.
Hey, man.
He's got fucking 2 tits on his back. He's got a dick on his shoulder. He just can't stop giving himself surgeries.
But I mean, you should. I remember, like, there was on TVO in Canada, there was like a documentary about these guys. Like, this whole documentary about people who are like wanted to be disabled and stuff. Because that's another thing in this article is this guy froze his leg.
Yeah,
and they had to amputate the leg.
Well, because they were like, we're not going to amputate it, and he was like, okay, I'll just freeze it off, and then you have no choice.
And then it'll be like a dead leg, and then you'll have to. And then they had to amputate it. But like, yeah, there's a whole body modification, and there is like a mental condition where people are like, I identify as disabled. Like literally, like my dream is to be like,
the guy they identify as a woman.
Yeah, exactly. But they're like, my dream is to like not have an arm. And then there was this one guy, I remember.
We all have dreams.
Yeah, there's one guy in the documentary was like, they wouldn't take off his leg. They refused to because they're like, you have a perfectly working leg.
And then what did he do?
He went out into the woods. He walked out into the woods with a shotgun and his phone, which was like a cordless but like house phone. And then he took a shotgun and he blew off his leg. And then he went to go call the police, but he was out of range from his phone. He had gone too far, so then he had to like drag himself back into range to call 911. And then they just like, but then they interviewed him after, and he's just fucking
he lived
happy as a peach. He goes, you made me do this. I didn't want to have to blow my leg off because I don't identify as someone with 2 legs. You made me live this way. You won't let me live my truth.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Fellas, Marek Health represents a paradigm shift in how we approach our medicine, empowering those who want the most of their health care and wish to maximize their potential. As you know, me and Danny have both done our panel, and both of us already have... basically what happens is pretty simple. You go... You get the blood work done, which you've heard us both talking about how important it was to do.
Oh, yeah.
And they tell you everything that you it's not, the thing is, the normal medicine, it's all just treating symptoms.
Yeah.
Whereas this is treating the root cause where you go, you're low on this, you're low on this. You might find out, your T's low for an adult. You might find out that you're just missing iron. They might find out that,
cholesterol's high. You got a lot of stuff. I mean, it's a very comprehensive blood.
And the most important thing, in my opinion, but obviously there's lots of this, is just for me. The cool thing to me was then you do it again, and then you're like, well, is the stuff I'm doing actually helping and making progress?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the faster you do it, the more you can have something to compare that to as a base level.
Absolutely.
And the people there actually know what they're talking about. It's not just
big time.
it's not someone that's just trying to sell you
actual
something.
doctors. Like you have actual, like you go and have have a Zoom call with like actual doctors.
And their goal is to help. Yeah, they're not, their goal isn't to sell you something. So insurance companies also regularly deny progressive treatment options. Primary care physicians refuse to order comprehensive lab work. And the standards of care lag years behind the leading research. So Marek Health offers cutting-edge diagnostic labs, concierge health, coaching, expert clinical oversight, and we support clients in achieving their health and fitness goals by leveraging data-driven lifestyle and nutritional recommendations along with supplement and prescription treatment options. So when you do the extensive lab work, it has 84 carefully selected biomarkers to provide detailed insights into your hormone profile, cardiovascular health, organ function, and metabolic status. You get custom lab reports with actionable recommendations validated by their clinical research team and physicians. So they also have expedited onboarding options for those interested in working with a Marek Health medical provider for personalized treatment options ranging from hormone optimization, cognitive enhancement, hair loss prevention, body recomposition, and all from the comfort of your home. So if you want to try it out, the optimization package includes the same elaborate panel I get for myself and Danny. And with those test results, the Marek Health clinical team optimizes our personal protocol. To get the exact same panel and medical oversight, click the link in the video description and go to marekhealth.com/boyscast. That is MAREK health.com/boyscast. Use the code boyscast and you got 10% off at the checkout. People are getting fatter. They're cutting their dicks off. Move over, Andrew Tate. There's a new brand of masculinity in town.
Ooh.
And possibly the smoothie Nolos. So there's a new brand of masculinity in town. And this is, okay, if you're wondering who it is, his name is Tim Waltz.
Real hands, man.
Yeah, they're bending over backwards because there is a part of like,
I mean, at least he was in the army for 20 years.
Yeah, he does look a little like someone that has sex with his shirt on.
Yeah, just pulls it through the hole.
But I listen, I get the well played by women where they're just like, my ideal man is someone else that I'm not, someone else's husband that I would never have sex with or will have to, who's advocating for me.
For sure.
You know what I mean? A guy who says all the stuff I want to say, that's my type.
Yeah.
You go, what's your type? Someone else's husband that spends their time, saying everything I would like them to say.
Yeah.
So,
that's fine.
Fair. Yeah. It's basically they want like a...
I mean, they want to win at all costs.
No, they want like a reverse Pearl. They want like a, a guy.
It's like a,
But there's a lot of that. So the CNN anchor was on, and she says the DNC appeals to the opposite of testosterone-laden men. And she was saying this, it's kind of like a quiet part out loud thing a little bit, where she goes, Tim Waltz is and Doug Emhoff. She goes, last night they're out here speaking and they're appealing to people who might not be some sort of testosterone-laden men. So it's like,
like the guy who fucked his nanny and got her pregnant.
Yeah, he might have some more testosterone than you think.
He might have had something to do with
He's
that.
playing the part a little bit. Yeah. Because I don't know if he's the biggest cock out there.
Yeah.
But it is hilarious that she's out here basically being like, these guys are real men's men. They appeal to people with low T. It's like, well, okay, I like sort of said it the opposite way, but it's just funny. Like,
sure. I mean, the people probably
big quiet part out loud.
I think they did study it, and they were like, it literally like is like there is a correlation between testosterone and political preference.
There's a correlation between testosterone and a lot of things.
Yeah. So, and I mean, again, these guys are old. Yeah, they probably don't have.
That's why men make a little less fearless as you get older.
Yeah, for sure. You get a little wiser, a little.
Yeah, you try. That's the whole game.
Less risk taking.
T drops a little bit as you get older, and then you try to combat that by being smarter. That's the whole.
Yeah,
that's the game you try to play as a human.
Softball this weekend, and I'm like, I could barely walk afterwards.
Really?
Crazy.
From what happened in the showers.
There was no showers. I was quite angry about that, actually.
Did you join a softball league?
Yeah, with comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with Derek Drescher.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a bunch of other comics. But like literally, I'm like,
did you like it?
I mean, it's fun to play softball, but it's just crazy. You're just like, the older you get, you're like, yeah, this used to be like I was like, this is like low.
Not that high intensity of a sport.
Yeah, like low impact, and now I'm like,
you're feeling it.
My hip flexor got strained because they made us play in like literally one of the diamonds.
My hip flexor.
Dude, literally one of the diamonds in Central Park is like beach sand. Like it's like deep, like you can't like fucking get your grip on your feet.
Buddy, you're one step above a nullo.
I'm gonna be a nullo soon.
Softball's doing damage to you.
It's crazy, dude. I couldn't believe it. But anyways, yeah, that's what happens.
That's rough that softball's fucking doing you in like that.
I know. I'm not pumped about it.
Well, they say Doug Emhoff is a progressive sex symbol, modern female fantasy. So there's 4 articles in a row.
I mean, soon to be, I guess. What does that make him? The second? Do you become the second most powerful person? No,
He's the first gentleman.
first gentleman. But
Right now, he's the second gentleman.
But like because they say the leader of the free world is the president, but you're not the second most powerful person. If
No.
you're the spouse. No,
Technically, it would be the vice president, obviously.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, the first gentleman. We haven't had a first
Oh
gentleman.
yeah,
yet.
but I mean, if you're eating the president's pussy on the reg, like you got some say, right?
you got her ear. That's
You're
for sure.
getting down there and dirty.
Emhoff appears to be a genuine mensch. He's smitten with his wife, supports her ambition, and it's obvious from his convention speech and their sweet interactions on the campaign trail. So this guy was banging the nanny.
Yeah,
Which, by the way,
impregnated the nanny,
this
forced-
guy, I don't
forced
know.
an
He's
abortion.
probably fine, whatever.
Yeah, it was a long
But
time
it's just
ago.
like one after another, they're just like, even in this article, she's like, people don't want to Ryan Gosling from Drive anymore and this. And it was just like, it's just a funny angle for them to go when all the stuff that's happening right now, it's a funny angle to just be like, this is a real man.
This is a real man, yeah.
And we all want to fuck him.
That's the weird part. To say like maybe this is a model man for America, if that's the angle, to say we all want to fuck him is.
It's funny. It's like, I'm just thinking of it the other way. Where
How
it's
many
like,
how many wood bangs do you think are in his DMs?
Sure. Like how many articles when like Obama was running where they're just like we all want to fuck Michelle. Like it's such a weird angle that they've got where they're just like every liberal guy. It's like it's almost telling where they're just like every guy that's like super high in the Democratic Party. They're like, we got to write a lot of articles about how it's like we all can't wait to suck them off.
Yeah. The real sex symbol.
Because they are sort of taking the opinion we were saying about the army thing, where it's like if you want to get guys to join the army, you have to make it seem like. You have to have
status.
Girls have to want to have sex with those guys.
Yeah.
They're trying to skip the part where the girls actually have sex with the guys. I think they're just trying to skip right to like, we all want to have sex with them. It's like, are you? And you're just like, we want to.
We want to, yeah.
And they're picking a lot of guys with wives to be like, what a fucking hunk.
If that guy came on the market and you go, yeah, I mean, it's a big.
And it's not, and to be honest, it's not a new thing. I've seen this with even moms are big onto like, they love being like, they'll take a guy that's been with his wife for 20 years and then he goes on interviews and he goes, I'm just so in love with my wife. She's the best person in the world. And every mom's just like, that's the ideal man.
Yeah.
So it is an okay technique to go out there and appear like you're the woman you're with.
Yeah. Young women will eat that slop up.
But I mean, if you're like a reality show guy and you have a woman and you're just like, you appear like, I'm just so into her. Oh my God, I've just dote over her hand and foot. When you break up with her, you're going to get some sniz coming your way.
Yeah, especially if it was like not your fault.
I think this one's a little harder sell because they're selling it in the context of essentially saying, the reason what's hot about these guys is mainly that they spend their entire existence supporting women.
Sure. Yeah, they're trying to get like the soap opera moms,
Yeah,
We're
they
now
are.
the TikTok moms.
Do you think that, well, that's a good question. Do you think that this is convincing girls that we love that? Or do you think it's somehow, or trying to a little bit convince guys like a lot of pussy coming at you if you're like that?
Probably the girls.
Or it's just
Girls vote. That's the thing. It's like women do vote.
They love voting.
Women be vote.
Women do be vote.
Once they repealed that, or not repealed, but once they let them vote.
They can't stop.
Can't stop.
It's like with Lay's, once you pop.
Can't stop voting.
I do know way more girls than guys that... is that true? I do know more girls than guys that like... voting's a big part of their identity.
I mean, I've been asking just...
Is that true that more women vote
anecdotally,
than
comics
guys?
we know, guys, than pretty much everyone.
But is that a true fact? More women than vote than guys?
I think so.
That's
I don't know, but anecdotally, I've been asking comics, and they're like, every guy's like, I've never voted.
Yeah.
Even the political ones, like Robbie Bernstein, who you're like, you do a politics podcast. He's like, I've never voted.
Interesting.
And you're like, I would expect him to be fucking early voting. He's like, never voted.
Well, maybe he never has a candidate he likes.
Like,
Yeah. That's his protest
Maybe
a little
that's his
bit.
Protest. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, women are consistently higher.
Women do vote more.
Women vote more.
We are correct in our synopsis that they be voting.
Yeah, women be voting for sure.
Well, they're sort of pushing the idea that you know, that a guy that sort of like plays the number 2 to a woman, that's the hottest thing you could do.
Of course.
That's their big thing.
Yeah, like not trying to usurp her for her power.
Yeah, they're kind of one step away from being like nothing hotter than a guy who goes to the gym and drops the weight and goes, ah.
Yeah. I mean, whoever's going to be fucking Caitlin Clark's next boyfriend, oh man.
The guy's going to be...
Oh my God, that guy's going to be such a bitch.
He's going to be drowning articles. He's going to be drowning articles about how good he is, yeah.
He's the best guy. He's just by his side. You know, just
it is
fucking, he returns all her 3-point shots when she's practicing. She helps him, helps her practice and just...
You just automatically, no matter what you do, like that Emhoff guy, he could probably do almost anything. If you just are one of those women that are like, they're trying to promote, if you're just dating her, married to her, in a relationship with her, you are almost guaranteed to get drip off articles about how you're the GOAT.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, again, women like who are just want a woman in power, and they're like, this doesn't even matter really at this point. Like women just want the woman in power, and they go, yeah, the guy's like, he's fine.
Well, also they
just need to know that he's not a piece of shit.
There's an old thing where they say that
even though he did do to a woman what would be considered like maybe the ultimate piece of shit move.
Well, they can move past almost.
It is interesting they can move past that because like women, if you want to score,
Billy C's been getting it in too, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to score on a woman, that's the way to do it. It's bang the nanny.
You ever see? You know when a girl's with like an abusive guy and the whole thing is she'll basically walk around. She didn't see nothing, like a mobster's wife.
Yeah,
they kind of have that characteristic a bit where they didn't see nothing.
Yep.
If they have their goal, didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
She could show up with 2 black eyes. It doesn't matter.
Women are very much cool with that was in the past, and you go, okay, keep that energy for later.
Whatever, know. But I was saying there's that old saying where they go, Republicans are the dumb party and Democrats are the evil party. Mm-hmm. But there's a little bit of where, from the media perspective, where the media is just putting out like article after article, it's like they're pretty good at like preying on women's empathy. Yeah, cynically taking advantage of their natural.
I mean, look, if you're
empathy.
reading Huffington Post, like
you're open for prayer.
I was going to say low IQ, but you're not really the most open person in terms of differing viewpoints and.
Well, so someone has made a prediction on what will happen. We're election astrologers.
All right.
Election astrologers is pretty good. We're election astrologers.
Of course we see where the moon is to find out who's going to be the president.
Of course, 50% of our predictions have been wrong.
And they all are. Like, even in the thing, they're like half wrong.
We're election astrologers. Here's who we predict. They had been telling their followers, this is HuffPost, by the way, so on brand for Denny was talking about. They had been telling their followers for years about how Harris was a rising star and Biden was falling.
She ran for president in 2019.
Okay, yeah. So she was
not like she didn't come out of nowhere.
Also, imagine looking at a 140-year-old man, and then a 50-year-old woman who's
black and Indian,
and then looking at the
only thing she's not is gay.
In 2000, I think it was 22. This prediction was made.
Ooh.
You go, I'm getting a reading from the moon. The 180-year-old guy, his thing's going. I think
he may have some health consequences.
His best years might be behind him, and I'm picturing this 50-year-old woman who's kind of in the prime of her career. I kind of see her going up a little bit.
Yeah, and people liking that. Yeah, it's real good astrology.
That's some real good astrology, looking at a 99-year-old man and being like, I think this guy might at some point be sloping downward.
They specifically say he may have some health challenges in the future. You can say that about any 80-year-old. Any 80-year-old you would nail being like, you might have some health problems.
Oh, this is the modern, this is the equivalent of like a astrologer predicting that CDs are going out of style in 2023. I have a feeling that CDs are going to continue to slope, less and less people are going to use them.
Sure.
Compact discs, ladies and gentlemen. She predicted correctly that, and then she also said there'd be a dramatic event because of the full moon, and that was the debate. So she predicted the week of the debate there was going to be a dramatic event because of the full moon.
Biden actually missed the opportunity there to blame.
By the way, pretty bold prediction in American politics. Entire week where you go, something's going to happen this week. You go, something big happens every week.
Yeah. Also, anything about the assassination attempt, which we still haven't learned anything
I don't
about?
think she predicted the assassination attempt.
Okay.
But it took her till she goes in June. Her prediction of Biden's health was at risk. So June of last year,
2024.
June of 2024.
You might have an inkling that Biden, who can barely speak, might have some health issues. All
the
right.
astrologer started noticing some. Guy's been falling downstairs for like 5 years.
Been falling upstairs.
But the moon only gave her synopsis. It's kind of right when the media started thinking, by the way, now that I think about it. But
The media takes their cues from the astrologers.
in June after the debate, she got this.
She goes, in my defense, I didn't watch the debate. I was just staring at the moon the whole time.
Well, she doesn't need to watch. She already knows.
Yeah.
That's so crazy being like, I have my magical powers have told me 3 months ago that this Biden guy might not be in perfect health. Predictive astrologers use multiple techniques. I was sort of just standing out there looking at one of the techniques was watching him fall down the stairs. But a lot of their methods involve examining a subject's birthday. For example, if it's in 1845, there might be some.
That might be a big cue for you.
If they're born in 1845,
They were born during the Civil War. That's usually a big flag that
getting
there might be.
reading, there might be some health problems coming at you in the future. So that's one of their big things is they use the birthday chart, and they also track planetary and star movements across time and space and see how the story of a person's life will unfold, including which moments of your career will be especially auspicious. Generally, they fall between the 30 and 60-year-old mark.
I want to know what astronomers think about this stuff.
Astronomer is one of their biggest things they hate is the words close to astrology.
Where I think, you got a degree in astrology, huh? He goes,
Okay.
No.
Well,
NASA.
The female astrologers that have been started to follow politics have made a prediction of who they think's going to win the election. I'm going to give you 3 guesses.
I guess Doug Emhoff and Kamala Harris.
The astrologers are coming in hot with a Kamala prediction.
Wow.
Going really off reservation.
Yeah. All the women think that Kamala Harris is going to win.
At the same time, Urban is predicting Trump will experience feeling crushed. So she thinks
He won't. The guy with the hugest ego in the world won't handle a loss, huh?
big prediction she's making.
Prediction.
So Trump's not going to like it too, on top of that.
This astrology stuff's really bulletproof.
She thinks Kamala's going to win. She also has a prediction that Trump's not going to love it.
Trump's not going to bow out gracefully should he lose the election.
But yeah, she has one more prediction. She says she says that Trump will feel a feeling of crushed, but Trump's influence will not immediately go away. So she says Trump's not going to just completely
He's not
disappear
going to
immediately.
completely disappear. Well,
That's what Jupiter told her.
all right. Well, thanks to the predictions.
I know. Hey, so I'm sure that you've been following this. Kremlin tries to calm fears over security of Telegram after arrest of the founder in France. And it's quite the debacle, which is going on.
What happens when you don't play ball, Pavel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the interesting part, obviously, is like he was a Russian.
Apparently, he was in Paris because he was this is, I think, a rumor.
Actually, I don't know. Why was he in Paris? Yeah.
This is unsubstantiated, but he was supposed to have dinner with the president, with Macron, because Macron's a big...
Would they had macaroni, do you think?
That would be funny.
Does he eat a lot of
I
macaroni?
don't think macaroni's very... I don't think...
Or more macaroons?
macarons.
Do you think
Macarons are specifically
So Macron, he
French.
must eat macarons.
Yeah, macarons.
And he's got to
eating
probably say a
macaron.
quip every time he does it.
Yeah, it was, is that with macaron for Macron?
He must.
Just for some levity.
So he was supposed to go there.
They said that he was supposed to have basically a private meeting with...
Isn't Telegram where you're in your white supremacist groups?
Yeah. It is. That's where I kind of see what's going on in them. I still don't here's the thing, it has almost 1 billion users. I still don't really get it. Some people have told me how to use it. I still don't really get how to use it. It's because it's
I get it every day. I get a new thing that someone added me on there, but I've never really talked to anyone on there. But I think the big thing,
it's encrypted messaging, and
it's encrypted messaging.
It allows you to do huge files. You can literally put super long, hour-long videos. But it's the
and this has been
it's a channel. You know how Instagram added the
Yes.
channels? It's like that, where it's just a channel. So you can only, if you're the user, you can only.
Yeah, a lot of people use it as a
can't
semi-mailing list.
Yeah, you can't really comment on it or stuff. But anyways, it's
big. Like it's big in Russia. It's big like getting out information with the war. But
that's
I
kind
guess
of the biggest thing.
But they're saying, oh, there's like child pornography on there. They won't.
Well, there's child pornography probably on every site in the world. Yeah.
Dude, there was a thing on Facebook recently where people were like running ads for selling like hardcore drugs and stuff like coke. Like you could literally get an ad being like buy coke.
Insane.
Yeah, and they're like the comparison is essentially like, well, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg's not getting fucking arrested. Now the difference is that Mark Zuckerberg, he just came out 2 days ago and he's like, hey,
he's playing ball.
Well, he's playing ball, but he's also like, hey, we were basically told by the FBI regarding the COVID to like censor even comedy. He even said like satire and stuff. Like FBI was literally like giving us a hard time about like removing posts, and so we did. And then with the Hunter Biden laptop, we restricted it because they told us it was like a lie or whatever until we could. And he's like, I regret doing that or whatever. But for the most part, they have strong content moderation.
Well, now that he's like Chet Hanks, he's kind of had a bit of change.
Now that he
of
got
heart.
the gold chain, he's just like, fuck.
He literally put the gold
these libs.
Dude, he put the gold chain on and he goes, "What the fuck was that lib shit that I was doing?"
Yeah, but so anyways,
started following.
But he
Six
won't.
Buds and No Jumper, and now he's not fucking with that shit.
Yeah, but they won't. They basically that dude's like, I'm not. No content moderation.
Well, also the whole thing is encrypted, so he was like, well, that would defeat the whole purpose. But also a lot of the places where this is popular, it was like so many things were banned. It was kind of like the only way to get information out from wars, and it was the number one place that essentially people were, giving out videos from the
Ukraine Russia stuff.
But no, I was going to say the Israel Palestine. This is like the number one place for. I mean, a lot of people are drawing the conclusion that. The reason why they're cracking down so much on this is because the Palestine info is all coming from this site.
And they want backdoors for this stuff, and it is an interesting thing because like, I wonder how this will affect X, because X does have content moderation, obviously some, but less than anywhere else. But, they could use this as a precedent where they're like trying to come after Elon.
Yeah, the countries are basically saying like, countries have the ability to be like, follow our rules.
At any moment, Elon could just be, arrested by the government, Department of Justice. And
I think the idea is like, we'll charge someone for a crime. And if you charge someone for a crime, now it's like evidence. And I guess, but you still have to get a warrant or whatever.
Yeah,
and they're just like, well, I guess they're saying like, well, we don't want to, we just want to have access like unfettered.
Yeah, we just want to have back channels or whatever, which they probably have on everything. But I imagine Twitter doesn't give them stuff like that. But Twitter obviously.
We talk about it all the time. The amount of people that you go, how did this guy get caught going to jail? It's like, well, he sent text messages about his crimes.
Yeah, for sure. And anyways, so. That seems to be the issue with him. But yeah, apparently the rumors he was like Macron lured him to Paris under the pretenses of like, I just want to have dinner.
That I didn't get that part. Okay, now I understand.
And then when they got him there, they arrested him.
I didn't understand you were implying that it was a luring.
Yeah, they lured him there. And then, because he is a French citizen. He's a French, Russian, and UAE citizen.
Dude, imagine getting tricked by the French. How annoying that would be.
Ugh.
Dude, imagine you're like some French guy gets there and then you get there and he goes, arrest him.
Arrest him.
Arrest him. And then you're like, I got fucking outsmarted by a Frenchman.
But again, I don't know like what the recourse is.
That's on you.
Yeah.
So we lured him there saying like, we want to talk about this, and it just like slapped.
But it wasn't even we want to talk about this. It was like the president of France is like, I'd like to meet with you for like a meeting, and then
in jail
he lands and
these guys. Well, the UAE, he has a citizen. He's a Russian citizen, a UAE citizen, and French, right? And then the UAE was going to do a deal with France to buy all this weaponry, a bunch of planes, I think it was, or missiles. And then essentially the UAE's like backed out on the deal, and the UAE's like, they're like, this is a citizen of our country, and you're like arresting them for no reason, essentially, is what their point is. So it's interesting that I think the UAE is trying really hard to essentially be like, yo, move here.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Apparently, this guy's got 100 kids. Do you know that? He's a real breeder.
Yeah,
he's big into just knocking and.
I did not know that.
Ghosting.
But yeah, they always. I mean, it is one of those things where whenever
I can't imagine that's true. He's only 39. I don't know how he could have 100 kids unless he's doing the Wilt Chamberlain deal, and he kind of pays every chick.
100's nuts.
100's crazy at 39.
He's got that Telegram money though.
Yeah, he said on Tucker Carlson, he was like, I don't know how many dollars in the bank or something, like hundreds of millions just like in a bank account. He doesn't own anything either. Like, he doesn't even own a home or anything. He's just like, I just fucking do what I want.
That's an interesting scenario. How do you think that's going to play out?
I think they have to charge him. I think his detention's coming up because they have like 96 hours where they can detain him, and then imagine they're going to charge him. I guess. I mean, they're gonna. It's a
Julian
when you're going up
Assange
against
situation.
when you're going up against the whole government. You're like, yeah, they have no problem fucking you over.
Yeah, and I'm sure that
And he won't play ball. He's not giving them like.
Yeah, he'll be a political prisoner over it.
Yeah, he will. He'll do like the Ross Albrecht kind of deal.
It seems like in the last little while, there's been a enormous global crackdown to be like, how do we like clean this shit up, man? We can't have people just like spreading information all around willy nilly without us getting our little paws into it.
Yeah, they want to be the arbiters of truth.
I'll tell you, on the topic of Ukraine and Russia, Russia urges citizens stay off dating apps. Ukraine might be spying on you. So it just seems like
honeypots. Honeypots abound.
Well, it seems like a bad plan. I guess if you're really high up, there was a few, wasn't there the American that ended up with the Chinese spy?
Yeah.
But for a normal soldier, it just seems, I don't know, there's probably not that much information for your average person, but also it seems like it would be pretty easy to discern when you're like, oh, I'll go with the Ukrainian, and immediately she's like, any war strategy?
So what's going on the front? Any plans you want to share with me?
I'll tell you, it does seem a little bit like throwing stuff at the wall.
Yeah.
If you're just like, maybe
it's probably just like a wartime measure where they're just like, hey, we are in an active war, so just be careful.
I mean, if you join the Ukrainian military and they're like, okay, and the guys, you're going to be out there fighting, and it's like, what am I doing? It's like, well, so you're going to go on these Tinder dates and then report back any info you got.
I mean, that is a good, the women can't fight, so at least putting them to work as borderline prostitutes.
I think you're going to be getting some pretty low end info.
Yeah, you're not going to be getting a lot of
from the average citizens. But speaking of boardrooms where crazy stuff has been going on, the King of England is black, gay, and disabled in My Lady Jane, and fans are having a hard time believing it's real.
I'm actually starting to like this stuff.
It
is funny because you're like,
this is a coked up boardroom, my friend.
Yeah. You're like,
woo! You're like, cut his fucking legs off.
I mean, like, I don't know. If someone wants to make some dumbass shit and spend their own money on it, I'm like, I guess.
I agree. This was like so ridiculous.
I know it's on Amazon. Like, it's on Amazon. You're like, I don't know.
I'd watch My Lady Jane to fucking see what they're up to.
There's probably a million period pieces of this king who was just an old white guy.
The show portrayed King Edward as a gay black disabled.
I mean, it's funny. The memes are like, they're literally just like taking their cues from memes from 5 years ago. They go, hey, what's like some fucking boomer in a MAGA hat being like, what's next? The fucking
King of England.
King of England's gay, black, and disabled. They go, that's a fucking sick idea, actually.
Have you patented that?
Yeah. Can we buy that from you?
Yeah, you signed a release technically when you posted it on here. Challenging traditional historical I love their challenging stuff.
I actually watched randomly. So do you ever hear of that movie The People's Joker? It was on, like, kind of went around Twitter for a while, maybe like 6 months or a year ago, and it's this trans person, and she basically made this like movie where it uses all these like Warner Brothers copyrights and stuff because it's the Joker, and then it's like, but it's a whole like trans thing around it. And so I have that like box where I just get every random movie, and it was on there for some reason. So I was like, I'm gonna check this out, watch it, because it has good reviews, but it's probably like all trans people being like, this is the best. And the only funny thing was because they like swear.
Well, basically it depends if it's the audience review.
Yeah. The audience reviews are really high, but obviously they would be. But it was crappy. I only watched like 20 minutes of it, but the funniest thing was there goes back to a scene where it's supposed to be like the Joker when as a kid, but trans, and then they're like seeing a doctor, and they're like, what's wrong with my son? And then it's like the son's like, I'm a girl, and then the mom's like crying or whatever. But then whenever, and like they say crazy shit, but whenever the doctor says the kid's name, they bleep it. I was like, what the fuck? They don't bleep anything else. Like, say whatever,
the dead name.
But they bleep the dead name.
It's triggering.
And at first I was like, I heard the first bleep, and I go, wait, what was that?
Did he swear? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what was that? And then like he kept saying the name, and they kept bleeping it. And I was like, what the fuck? Then I turned it off. Don't watch.
Well, this is the final form right here. Significant departures. Oh, apparently didn't do that good, and I don't think they're renewing it. Nah. Significant departure from traditional depictions of historical figures, particularly in a period known for its rigid social hierarchies and lack of representation. He's fighting to keep the
It wasn't
throne.
a period known for a lack of representation. It was fucking 400 years ago in England. Nobody 400.
That's what it's known for.
Nobody 400 years ago in England was like, a real lack of diversity here, eh?
It's the only thing it's known for.
Where's the diversity?
As opposed to every other place.
That's what it's known for.
It's the main thing that 14th century England was known for. Is lack of diversity. Well, not anymore.
Yeah.
Featuring Edward. This is probably my favorite part. Fighting to keep his throne while also navigating his queerness.
And disability.
So My Lady Jane explored the creative vision while also focusing on inclusivity.
Do we know if the actual king, was he at least in a wheelchair? Or are they doing that too?
I think he has like a chair and maybe people carry him around sort of thing.
But was he disabled?
Bring me to the dicks.
Which king was this?
Oh, was
was
King
he at
Edward
least-
gay?
was
or
it-
was King Edward at least in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
No, I think they added that too.
Oh, so
Dude.
King Edward cannot be pumped about this.
I mean, I would love if, imagine you died and they did a biopic. You're a queer queer guy in a wheelchair.
Fucking
Danny Polishuk. They go, the Danny Polishuk story. There's just a guy being like, just finished sucking some dicks.
now time to do some comedy. Look, 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 look.
You got a walker. The Danny Polishuk story is the story of the stand-up biopic, and you're on stage with a walker talking about sucking cock. Something your enemy would make.
I know.
It's almost not. It almost you could say it's like people that are pro-America doing Britain, making their kings gay and retarded.
This is wild. It's doing them dirt.
So they go, while the elements of inclusivity are indeed significant to the show, people's intense focus, particularly on them, is overshadowing the broader creative ambitions. So they're saying that people are focusing on that too much. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you made the King of England gay and retarded and black. And then they're like, can you fucking move on? Yeah, it's like, we made a choice. Like, can you just watch the story and enjoy it?
Yeah.
No, anyways, the king's off into his dick sucking party.
Doesn't look like he was. This was him. He didn't look.
I would like a golden dildo, please.
Bring me my dildo.
So he's in a wheelchair. Oh, yeah, that's hilarious though. Doing
That's great.
the story of Danny. You're so there, like, he actually went to school in Burlington, Ontario, and then it's just you just fucking sucking dicks in Burlington. Then he went to University of Guelph, and fucking University of Guelph just sucking him off. Fucking blah, 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 blah.
Probably the worst.
At which point he moved to Toronto to start doing comedy. Just you fucking outside of Imperial Pub.
The worst part about this
Wheeling away. Just wheeling out
is
of
wheeling down an alley.
Just wheeling out of a brothel. There's 5 black guys behind you from the scene, like from that porn scene.
Yeah.
Just wheeling down an alley.
Crazy thing is there'll be no repercussions for the people who made this. Like normally,
No, they'll get more jobs.
like it used to be like you made such a crazy bomb.
You don't work
that
for
they
a
go
while.
ever. You go, you're done working forever.
You had a good run.
Executives get to make more stuff. Nobody's like, they're like, yeah, I'm already on to my next project. Like this didn't impact me at all.
Oh, this guy is already making, I'll tell you what he won't be making. The King of Africa, like a fucking surfer, bro. The King of Africa, he's got one leg and he's like, all right, bros, who's ready to do some fucking surfing in Africa?
Why don't they make everybody else black?
Well, I'd like to see this.
I guess that's kind of Bridgerton.
They make Cleopatra just fucking a Canadian fat chick.
Yeah.
Fucking no, it's Cleopatra showed up on the scene here, boys. Oh, Cleopatra loves playing some fucking just dip and chew.
Well, chill.
Yeah.
Cleopatra.
Just fucking Cleopatra here. Just let's play some chow here, eh? You want to play some mini sticks?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Boys Cast comes at you every week. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/theboyscast, where we have a new episode every single week.
Now with 100% more slop.
With 100% more slop. They've turned the dials on that slop. You're in the factory. You're working on the assembly line, and you do not have benefits, folks.
No.
The only thing you do is you have all access pass to the trough. That is the only thing your slop factory pass
Missing
has
out
got
on a
to you.
lot of slop over on the Patreon.
The Boys Cast.